Dear listeners, we are glad to present you the first broadcast of our program, The Grammopode Show, a dive into unknown stories and poems from famous or forgotten authors. It's also a rediscovery of fables and tales from all around the world. In other words, a journey into the lost pages of literature brought to life by our talented storytellers. Our first piece is entitled The Lunatic Fringe, a short poem written by William Makepeace Thackeray, performed by Harry Drain. Charlotte was a married lady, and a more man was worther. Oh. And for all the wealth of Indies would do nothing for to hurt her. So he sighed, and pined, and ogled, and his passions boiled and bubbled, till he blew his silly brains out, and no more was by it troubled. Charlotte, having seen his body borne before her on a shutter, like a well-conducted person, went on cutting bread and butter. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was The Lunatic Fringe performed by Harry Drain. Our second piece is entitled A Marriage Has Been Arranged, a one-act love comedy play written by Alfred Sutro, performed by Pam Pausat and Gregory A. Smith.
Ah, this is the place. Very quiet, retired, romantic, etc. Music in the distance, all very appropriate and sentimental. You seem perfectly calm, Lady Aline.
Anterooms are not unusual appendages to a ballroom, Mr. Croxted, nor is this anteroom unlike other anterooms.
I wonder why women are always so evasive.
With your permission, we will not discuss the sex. You and I are too old to be cynical, and too young to be appreciative. And besides, it is a rule of mine, whenever I set out a dance, that my partner shall avoid the subjects of women and war.
You limit the area of conversation. But then, in this particular instance, I take it we have not come here to talk.
I beg your pardon?
Lady Aline, they are dancing a cotillion in there, so we have half an hour before us. We shall not be disturbed, for the Duchess, your aunt, has considerately stationed her aged companion in the corridor with instructions to ward off intruders.
Mr. Croxted!
Didn't you know? That's right. Of course you did. Don't you know why I brought you here? That's right. Of course you do. The Duchess, your aunt, and the Marchioness, your mother, observe how fondly my tongue trips out the titles, smiled sweetly on us as we left the ballroom. There will be a notice in the Morning Post tomorrow. A marriage has been arranged between...
Mr. Croxted, this is...
Because I have not yet proposed, you mean? Of course I intend to, Lady Aline. Only, as I know that you will accept me...
Let us go back to the ballroom.
Ah, please. That won't help us, you know. Do sit down. I assure you I have never proposed before, so that naturally I am a trifle nervous. Of course, I know that we are only supers really, without much of a speaking part, but the spirit moves me to gag in the absence of the stage manager, who is, let us say, the Duchess.
I have heard of the new humour, Mr. Croxted, though I confess I have never understood it. This may be an exquisite example.
By no means. I am merely trying to do the right thing, though perhaps not the conventional one, before making you the formal offer of my hand and fortune, which amounts to a little over 3 million.
How people exaggerate. Between 6 and 7, I heard.
Only 3 at present, but we must be patient. Before throwing myself at your feet, metaphorically, I am anxious that you should know something of the man whom you are about to marry.
That is really most considerate.
I have the advantage of you, you see, inasmuch as you have many dear friends who have told me all about you.
Indeed.
I am aware, for instance, that this is your 9th season.
You are remarkably well informed.
I have been told that again tonight, 3 times, by charming young women who vowed that they loved you. Now, as I have no dearest friends, it is unlikely that you will have heard anything equally definite concerning myself. I propose to enlighten you.
The story of your life. How thrilling.
I trust you may find it so. Lady Aline, I am a self-made man, as the foolish phrase has it. A man whose early years were spent in savage and desolate places, where the devil had much to say. A man in whom whatever there once had been of natural kindness was very soon kicked out. I was poor and lonely for 32 years. I have been rich and lonely for 10. My millions have been made honestly enough, but poverty and wretchedness have left their mark on me, and you will find very few men with a good word to say for Harrison Croxted. I have no polish or culture or tastes. Art wearies me. Literature sends me to sleep.
When you come to the chapter of your personal deficiencies, Mr. Croxted, please remember that they are sufficiently evident for me to have already observed them.
That is true. I will pass then to more intimate matters. In a little township in Australia, a horrible place where there was gold, I met a woman whom I loved. She was what is technically known as a bad woman. She ran away with another man. I tracked them to Texas, and in a mining camp there, I shot the man. I wanted to take the woman back, but she refused. That has been my solitary love affair, and I shall never love any woman again as I loved her. I think that is all that I have to tell you. And now, will you marry me, Lady Aline?
Not if you were the last man in this world, Mr. Croxted.
At least that is emphatic.
See, I will give you confidence for confidence. This is, as you suggest, my 9th season. Living in an absurd milieu where marriage with a wealthy man is regarded as the one aim in life. I have, during the past few weeks, done all that lay in my power to wring a proposal from you.
I appreciate your sincerity.
Perhaps the knowledge that other women were doing the same lent a little zest to the pursuit, which otherwise would have been very dreary, for I confess that your personality did not especially appeal to me.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, this room being the palace of truth, I will admit that it was only by thinking hard of your 3 millions that I have been able to conceal the weariness I have felt in your society. And now, will you marry me, Mr. Croxted?
I fancy that's what we're here for, isn't it?
I have, of course, been debarred from the disreputable amours on which you linger so fondly. But I loved a soldier cousin of mine, and would have run away with him had my mother not packed me off in time. He went to India, and I stayed here. But he is the only man I have loved, or ever shall love. Further, let me tell you I am 28. I have always been poor. I hate poverty, and it has soured me no less than you. Dress is the thing in life I care for most. Vulgarity my chief abomination. And, to be frank, I consider you the most vulgar person I have ever met. Will you still marry me, Mr. Crockstead?
Oh, why not?
This is an outrage. Am I a horse, do you think, or a ballet dancer? Do you imagine I will sell myself to you for your 3 million?
Logic, my dear Lady Aline, is evidently not one of your more special possessions. For had it not been for my somewhat eccentric preliminaries, you would have accepted me, would you not? If I had said to you timidly, Lady Aline, I love you. I am a simple, unsophisticated person. Will you marry me? You would have answered, yes, Harrison, I will.
It is a mercy to have escaped marrying a man with such a Christian name as Harrison.
It has been in the family for generations, you know. But it is a strange thing that I am always called Harrison, and that no one ever adopts the diminutive.
That does not surprise me. We have no pet names for the east wind.
The possession of millions, you see, Lady Aline, puts you into eternal quarantine. It is a kind of yellow fever, with the difference that people are perpetually anxious to catch your complaint. But we digress. To return to this question of our marriage...
I beg your pardon.
I presume that it is arranged.
Mr. Crockstead, let me remind you that frankness has its limits. Exceeding these, it is apt to degenerate into impertinence. Be good enough to conduct me to the ballroom.
You have 5 sisters, I believe, Lady Aline. All younger than yourself, all marriageable, and all unmarried. Your father.
Not a word of my father.
Your father is a gentleman. The breed is rare and very fine when you get it. But he is exceedingly poor. People marry for money nowadays, and your mother will be very unhappy if this marriage of ours falls through.
Is it to me to oblige my mother, then, that you desire to marry me?
Well, no. But, you see, I must marry someone in mere self-defence, and honestly, I think you will do at least as anyone else. That strikes you as funny?
If you had the least grain of chivalrous feeling, you would realize that the man who could speak to a woman as you have spoken to me...
Yes?
I leave you to finish the sentence.
Thank you. I will finish it my own way. I will say that when a woman deliberately tries to wring an offer of marriage from a man whom she does not love, she deserves to be spoken to as I have spoken to you, Lady Aline.
Love? What has love to do with marriage?
That remark rings hollow. You have been good enough to tell me of your cousin, whom you did love.
Well?
And with whom you would have eloped had your mother not prevented you.
I most certainly should.
So you see that at one period of your life you thought differently. You were very fond of him?
I have told you.
If I had been he, mother or no mother, money or no money, I would have carried you off. I fancy it must be pleasant to be loved by you, Lady Aline.
You do me too much honour.
Next to being king, it is good to be maker of kings. Where is this cousin now?
In America. But might I suggest that we have exhausted the subject?
Do you remember your Arabian Nights, Lady Aline?
Vaguely.
You have at least not forgotten that sublime caliph, Harun al-Rashid?
Oh, no. But why?
We millionaires are the caliphs today, and we command more faithful than ever bow to them. And like that old scoundrel Harun, we may at times permit ourselves a respectable impulse. What is your cousin's address?
Again I ask, why?
I will put him in a position to marry you.
What?
Don't be alarmed. I'll manage it pleasantly. I'll give him tips, shares, speculate for him, make him a director of one or two of my companies. He shall have an income of 4,000 a year. You can live on that.
You are not serious.
Oh, yes. And though men may not like me, they always trust my word. You may.
And why will you do this thing?
Call it caprice. Call it a mere vulgar desire to let my magnificence dazzle you. Call it the less vulgar desire to know that my money has made you happy with the man you love.
That is generous.
I remember an old poem I learnt at school, which told how Frederick the Great coveted a mill that adjoined a favourite estate of his. But the miller refused to sell. Frederick could have turned him out, of course. There was no county council in those days. But he respected the miller's firmness and left him in solid possession. And mark that, at the very same time, he annexed, in other words stole, the province of Silesia.
Ah!
Ce sont là jeux de prince. Ils respectent le meunier. Ils volent en Provence.
You speak French.
I am fond of it. It is the true and native language of insincerity.
And yet you seem sincere.
I am permitting myself that luxury tonight. I am uncorking, let us say, the one bottle of 47 port left in my cellar.
You are not quite fair to yourself, perhaps.
Do not let this action of mine cause you to suddenly alter your opinion. The verdict you pronounced before was, on the whole, just.
What verdict?
I was the most unpleasant person you had ever met.
That was an exaggeration.
The most repulsive.
I did not say that.
And who prided himself on his repulsiveness? Very true in the main. And yet, consider, my wealth dates back 10 years. Till then I had known hunger, and every kind of sorrow and despair. I had stretched out longing arms to the world, but not a heart opened to me. And suddenly, when the taste of men's cruelty was bitter in my mouth, capricious fortune snatched me from abject poverty and gave me delirious wealth. I was ploughing a barren field and flung up a nugget. From that moment, gold dogged my footsteps. I enriched the few friends I had. They turned howlingly from me because I did not give them more. I showered money on whoever sought it of me. They cursed me because it was mine to give. In my poverty there had been the bond of common sorrow between me and my fellows. In my wealth I stand alone, a modern Ishmael with every man's hand against me.
Why do you tell me this?
Because I am no longer asking you to marry me. Because you are the first person in all these years who has been truthful and frank with me. And because, perhaps, in the happiness that will, I trust, be yours, I want you to think kindly of me. And now, shall we return to the ballroom? The music has stopped. They must be going to supper.
What shall I say to the Marchioness, my mother, and the Duchess, my aunt?
You will acquaint those noble ladies with the fact of your having refused me.
I shall be a 9 days' wonder. And how do you propose to carry out your little scheme?
I will take Saturday's boat. You will give me a line to your cousin. I had better state the case plainly to him, perhaps.
That demands consideration.
And I will tell you what you shall do for me in return. Find me a wife.
I?
You. I beg it on my knees. I give you carte blanche. I undertake to propose, with my eyes shut, to the woman you shall select.
And will you treat her to the little preliminaries with which you have favoured me?
No. I said those things to you because I liked you.
And you don't intend to like the other one?
I will marry her. I can trust you to find me a loyal and intelligent woman.
In society?
For preference. She will be better versed in spending money than a governess or country parson's daughter.
But why this veracity for marriage?
Lady Aline, I am hunted, pestered, worried, persecuted. I have settled 2 breach of promise actions already, though heaven knows I did no more than remark it was a fine day, or inquire after the lady's health. If you do not help me, some energetic woman will capture me, I feel it, and bully me for the rest of my days. I raise a despairing cry to you. Find me a wife.
Do you desire the lady to have any special qualifications?
No, the homegrown article will do. One thing, though, I should like her to be merciful.
I don't understand.
I have a vague desire to do something with my money. My wife might help me. I should like her to have pity.
Pity?
In the midst of her wealth, I should wish her to be sorry for those who are poor.
Yes. And as regards the rest?
The rest, I leave to you, with absolute confidence. You will help me.
I will try. My choice is to be final?
Absolutely.
I have an intimate friend. I wonder whether she would do.
Tell me about her.
She and I made our debut the same season. Like myself, she has hitherto been her mother's despair.
Because she has not yet...
Married, yes. Oh, if men knew how hard the lot is of the portionless girl who has to sit and smile and wait with a very desolate heart, they would think less unkindly of her, perhaps. But I am digressing, too.
Tell me more of your friend.
She is outwardly hard, and a trifle bitter. But I fancy sunshine would thaw her.
Would she marry a man she did not love?
If she did, would you not respect her?
I don't say that. She will be your choice, and therefore deserving of confidence. Is she handsome?
Well, no.
That's a pity. But we can't have everything.
No. There's one episode in her life that I feel she would like you to know.
If you are not betraying a confidence.
No. She loved a man, years ago, very dearly. They were too poor to marry, but they vowed to wait. Within 6 months, she learned that he was engaged.
Ah.
To a fat and wealthy widow.
The old story.
Who was touring through India and had been made love to by every unmarried officer in the regiment. She chose him.
India?
Yes.
I have an idea that I shall like your friend.
I shall be careful to tell her all that you said to me at the beginning.
It is quite possible that my remarks may not apply after all.
But I believe myself, from what I know of you both, that if she marries you, it will not be altogether for your money.
Listen, they're playing God Save the King. Will you be my wife, Eileen?
Yes, Harry.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was A Marriage Has Been Arranged by Pam Palsat and Gregory Hay Smith. And this concludes our matinee. But fear not, folks. Our show will be back for the afternoon at 3 p.m. to delight you with some more treasures of literature. Stay tuned for the next part of our program, The Grammopode Show. Hello again, dear listeners. This is the Grammopode Show Afternoon. Our third piece is a short poem called Absence of Love by Margaret Fuller Osoli, performed by Amy Moonbeam.
though many at my feet have bowed, and asked my love through pain and pleasure. Fate never yet the youth hath showed me to receive so great a treasure. Although sometimes my heart deceived would love, because it sighed to feel. Yet soon I changed and sometimes grieved, because my fancied wound would heal.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Amy Moonbeam for her performance of The Absence of Love of Margaret Fuller O'Soley. Our next piece is a one-act modern mystery play of Clive Dack's The Cloak, performed by Cara Benstead, Holly Burgess-Smith, and Kate Thiene.
There is a time for laughter, and a time for serious thought and solemn pacing rhyme. We do not purpose now to bring you mirth, but rather, if we can, to show how strange is man, and what it is that cankers life on earth. First then, I pray you all to understand our stage, our scenery, represents no land that ship or train might come to, but instead a world of spirits, the unborn and the dead. Next are ourselves, the players. Let us be imagined out of our mortality, for those who speak our play will not be flesh and blood, not mortal clay, but spirits. The first unborn, eager for breath and pure. The second, wakening after death. So much I tell you that our words may win full comprehension. Let the play begin.
Lost? I am lost. Which way? Where is the track? Should I push onward blindly or turn back? Which way? I cannot see. 1 inch in front of me. Or does the darkness only seem so great because I come from heaven? If I should wait a little here, my sight may slowly learn to use this weaker light. Yes, it was true. The place begins to grow upon my sense. It is a mountain pass, with heaven's blue peaks above me, and below abysms of flowery grass. Have I indeed come downward all that way, and in so brief a time? I cannot then be very far now from the world of men, where once I was, and whither, if I may, I would return today. Does memory play me tricks, or will these eyes meet there with beauty more than they can drink? For I remember, or at least I think I can remember, dark woods and clear skies, diamonds of morning sunlight on the sea, and sunsets too, that were like paradise dissolving into air, and men and women happy, kind and wise. Oh, to be once more back on earth, to be woman or man once more, but how to guess which pathway to explore?
The earth is one day distant.
Who is here? An angel?
Yes.
While I'm still so near to heaven, I greet you after the sweet way of those with whom I walked but yesterday. I have been sent, dear sister, as you know, to find the world. Tell me which way to go.
Do you want life? Have you not bliss enough?
I am a jar that heaven has brimmed with love, to overflowing, since I can hold no more. But wonder if I seek to share my store? For though my memories of the earth are kind, there must be many things that I forget. And often with a strangely puzzled mind, I've heard some that had been lately there say that men have not yet made quite the whole world fair, as heaven is fair. And so, perhaps too proudly I dared hope, love there might still find scope. If I was right, tell me which path to take. Some spirits I know, when they draw near to earth, are frightened just to sleep and wake. I think I never had that fear of birth.
Come, sister. From this peak, you can descry that planet which you seek.
Where? I perceive more stars than I can count, like bubbles in the universal night. What is the earth, I wonder? That great fount of leaping flames?
No, it is far less bright. It is a little sphere, a humble place, that hardly shows among the suns of this space. You see that mighty globe? Men call her Sirius, with an endless play of colours like an iridescent robe. From that, look east and your vision probe beyond the Milky Way.
Beyond? I can see nothing. All is dark.
Look once again.
A fitful glowing spark. Is that the world?
Why, you have scarce begun to find the world. That is man's blinding sun.
But now I see. Faint discs that move about it circle-wise. Or could they be no more than motes within my own strained eyes?
The little third one, you can perceive it?
Yes.
That is the earth. How little, how obscure you think, but you shall find there nonetheless great beauty and much woe hard to endure.
And what will birth be like?
A gradual sleep, a dwindling down until at length drowned in that light you wake to want and root.
I swear it shall not put out my intent, still to be spent in love till life be spent.
Myriads go down to earth with that resolve, and you perhaps may find force to maintain it. Yet, I warn you, earth contracts the sky large mind.
I pray you lead me to the next point.
You ask an hour too soon. I have a harder task.
What is it?
I am waiting here to guide the footsteps of a woman who has just died. For when they slip their bodies and, as men say, are dead, all human spirits pass by this way. From heaven they go forth simply clad, like you. But as years pass, they let the whirring brain weave no thoughts but of self-glory and self-gain. These, though not visibly to their mortal view, become a cloak, a richly patterned cloak that hides their true selves as a flame and smoke. And having worn it, there on earth, so long, they will not cast it by, but think that they are the garment which they wear. It is my task to teach her that before she enters heaven, her separate self must die, and she becomes simple as you once more.
Grant me a wish.
What is it?
Let me prove that not vaingloriously I spoke of love. Depute your task to me, and I will set her free.
That is more difficult than it sounds to be.
How? Difficult to prevail on her to cast the cloak away and be herself at last?
I grant your wish. And there, look, she comes, not yet freed of earthly care, but walking, half asleep and half awake, like someone in a dream he cannot break.
No, stay, you mustn't leave me. Though my head is clear of pain and though the fever's gone, I cannot think that I'm still in bed. I feel as if I had been climbing on somewhere from crest to crest, and could not stop, and yet I must have rest.
Her thoughts, you see, not being yet clean cleft, are tangled with that life which she has left.
Come near. I want to tell you something. Can you hear? I owe my sister money. She is afraid that if I'm sick for long it won't be paid. Do tell her that I will pay to the last penny. I shan't die. This will soon have passed. Won't it? Have I fallen asleep?
This trance of memory that drugs all her powers moment by moment will become less deep.
They're just a dream. The rocks, the sun on high, that caught in the cloud makes peril of half the sky. And those green slopes of never-stirring flowers come closer. If she talks of it today, give her my solemn promise to repay. Once I am well, where have you gone? You seem 1,000 miles away. And there they rise again, those rocks of dream. I must fare on. How weak I am. The weight even of my cloak begins to grow too great.
She has waked. Go forth, dissolve that spell that binds her till she drops her cloak. Speed well.
Sister, I come to help you.
Do I need help? It has always been my pride to scorn dependence upon others. And indeed, who are you?
Why, a spirit as yet unborn.
There's no such thing.
But how? Can you believe that now? Look, I am here.
Souls without form are things impossible, like string music without strings. And then you have a form.
That which I wear, now is the pattern of my body there.
There, on the earth you mean?
I go today.
This can't be true. If you are what you say, how then of me?
Your body has just died.
I'm dead. If that be so, how little men yet know, for men have tossed that fairy tale aside these many years ago.
Have they? How strange. Because their world, you see, is just as unimaginable to me.
Then I suppose these rocks are heaven.
Alas, heaven lies a long way from this mountain pass, which if I understood, the angel rightly, bridges the two worlds.
Good. One path must lead to heaven, if heaven there be, and that's the path for me.
You think to undergo that second birth just as you are? Just as you came from earth?
Why not?
So many faculties that have use in life are here grapes that have lost their juice.
If I'm dead, I have lost my wealth, my fame. And now in heaven you tell me I shall find the inflexible will that made men fear my name, and the great learning of my book-built mind may chaff. That leaves me just like other folk. I say I'll enter heaven. What must I do?
First, fling away your cloak.
This? But I worked at this my whole life through, making it from thousands threads and scrapes. The intricate design marks me for what I am. And though perhaps the world may have a few that are as fine, there's none that matches mine.
And yet you cannot come to heaven, I swear, till you have cast it off, however fair. It is a garment merely.
No, much more. It's a personality that I wore, all that I have been. And if I lose my cloak, what will it mean? To lose identity, to be but one of millions like a flame within the sun. Not to be I at all. If thus you seek life, let your hope be small.
What do you mean?
That if you will not wear some garment to impress your fellows there, you will go wretchedly to your dying day, for every man will push you from his way.
Do men not help each other?
Can you be so ignorant, and yet would counsel me? For you the world will prove a bitter school, I warn you, and men count you but a fool.
How strange to find so rare goodwill that should be general as the air. But what of love? Has it no place with men?
It is a star, seen and soon lost again.
They do not now make war? The world is old.
For some few yards of soil, a little gold.
Still. But when war is done, in days of peace,
every man then fights for his own increase.
Friend against friend, how can the world advance?
How, if at all, not by man's will but chance?
I thought that men were kind of heart and just.
Why should they be, thinking themselves mere dust?
But they are spirits.
Yet most men squander life in fooleries or the stirring up of strife.
Alas, if this be true, I think the earth terrible. I begin to dread my birth.
If you remain as simple there as here, and still think love the sovereign power through space, you'll indeed find men just as you fear, a cruel and crafty race. Who most exalt the heartless and the strong, and force the gentlest to endure most wrong. Be wise, weave yourself a protection in disguise. Of this be sure, either you must fulfill the will of others or impose your will. But if you cast out pity from your heart, and at the very start, see what you want, and thrusting others by, snatch it and keep it. Why? You may live happy and think the world a play, pleasant enough, there is no other way.
I thought to bring man love before you spoke.
Love in simplicity gave no good on earth.
And that was why you made yourself that cloak?
So you begin to understand its worth. But which path must I take? All are so sheer.
Till you throw off your cloak, you are bound here.
Ah, you grow shrewd. You propose, if you can, to get it for yourself. A pretty plan. But since you will not tell, I choose a path at random. Fare you well.
Where would you go?
I seek for heaven.
Your pride in being yourself must first be thrown aside.
You say it also. Then in heaven it seems our personalities
are but earthly dreams.
But what of intellect?
In the spheres above we learn in subtler ways, and swifter too than any known to man.
How then?
We love something, and straightway know it through and through.
My cloak, it is myself, and yet you say I dare not?
Dare it. Cast yourself away.
No.
Then remain within this middle state, till time have taught you wisdom, and you tire of being yourself.
Alas, I cannot wait.
Cast off your cloak.
My fear and my desire stand equal. No, however dread it be, I'll do it. I am free. Now I know what joy is, and I come home. After so long, the universe and I flow to one rhythm. And you, sister, goodbye.
Sister, goodbye. And you?
My way is harder. She herself made mock of my simplicity, saying the world of men would use me for their drudge and laughing stock. But surely, if I take her cloak, what then? Then I myself should be more strong than they, more subtle brains, the mightiest, not the least. I'll put it on. Let whoso may content himself with fragments of the feast. I'll wring the pleasures of the whole earth dry. Rule, not be ruled. Give burdens and not bear, and all the world shall know that I am I.
She failed. It is not there. But who comes now? And what shall be her fate? For as they leave that state, some I have seen in whom love was a flame so bright that men remembered whence they came.
And this was The Cloak, ladies and gentlemen, performed by Cara Binstead, Holly Burgess-Smith, and Kate Feeney. And here ends our afternoon. But it's far from over. Stay alert and be ready for the final part of our program, The Grammopode Show at 6 p.m. Toodaloo! Good evening, listeners. Welcome to the final part of our program, The Grammopode Show. For our fifth piece, let's us hear the poem The Arrow and the Song by D.B. Wyndham Lewis, performed by Robert Maximovitz.
I shot an arrow into the air. I don't know how it fell or where, but strangely enough, at my journey's end, I found it again in the neck of a friend.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, was Robert Maximovitz with the poem The Arrow and the Song. And now, to conclude our journey, we will finish by a fable from the antique poet Aesop, The Frogs Who Desired a King, performed by Jonathan Brunt. Time was when the frogs were discontented because they had no ruler over them. So they sent a deputation to Jupiter to ask him to give them a king. Jupiter, despising the folly of their request, cast a log into the pool where they lived and said that should be their king. The frogs were terrified at first by the splash and scuttled away into the deepest parts of the pool. But by and by, when they saw that the log remained motionless, one by one they ventured to the surface again, and before long, growing bolder, they began to feel such contempt for it that they even took to sitting upon it. Thinking that a king of that sort was an insult to their dignity, they sent to Jupiter a second time and begged him to take away the sluggish king he had given them and to give them another and better one. Jupiter, annoyed at being pestered in this way, sent a stork to rule over them, who no sooner arrived among them that he began to catch and eat the frogs as fast as he could. Ladies and gentlemen, The Frogs Who Desired a King, read by Jonathan Brunt. And that, folks, is the end of the first episode of our program. Look forward for new treasures of literature in the next episode of The Grammopode Show.